Uh, this is a little disturbing. Okay, so you have 27-year-old Charles C. Davis Jr. He was charged with a crime of being a felon in possession of a firearm and possession of marijuana. But that's not how this began. How this began is this guy was shot 2 times around 5:20 yesterday evening, September 10th, 2016. He was shot behind the shopping center, East Reynolds Road. And they said Davis got out of his car to throw something in a dumpster, and then a black Dodge Challenger pulled up. Several shots were fired. Davis was shot in his hand and in the chest. Then he went to the parking lot of the Office Depot, and from there he was taken to the UK hospital. Okay, so let's try to break this down a little bit. Actually, here's another article. It's got a little bit more information. And they said that he's been uncooperative with investigators. The witnesses say the suspects are 2 black men. They found marijuana and cash and a gun inside of Davis's car. So a man who's been shot showed up at Office Depot, Nicholasville Road, Lexington, late Saturday afternoon. Of course, cops charged him, right? You're shot in the chest and the hand. You charge that guy with a crime. I mean, he just was a victim of a shooting. Charge him. You victimize him further. You continue to keep victimizing him until, he loses his mind. Let's see, 5:20 p.m. response to a man with the gunshot wounds. See, police went to the Office Depot in South Park Shopping Center. Charles C. Davis Jr. It said the same thing. He got out of his car in the parking lot at 169 East Reynolds Road to throw something into a dumpster. Black Dodge Challenger pulled up. Police said several shots were fired, and he was taken to a local hospital for treatment. And, of course, if anybody knows anything, give the police a call. Nobody's going to tell the police anything. Okay, so let's break this down. So what do we got here? Let's try to figure out what happened. Okay, so you got Charles C. Davis. He's in a parking lot. They said he went to go throw something in a dumpster, which apparently I guess that's from the surveillance video, right? So he's in the parking lot, went to go throw something into the dumpster, and then you have a black Dodge Charger, 2 black men come up, shoot him, and then they leave. So at first I was thinking, well, since they found marijuana, maybe it was like a drug deal going bad. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. I feel like if they tried to, if they wanted to rob him, then why didn't they take anything, at all? So this was retaliation. This was in retaliation for something. Perhaps it was a deal that he didn't want to do. Perhaps he stiffed them. Perhaps, who knows? I guess it could be a whole multitude of things that could have happened. How did he know he was out there? Why was he in this dumpster in the middle of nowhere? And then how did the other people know where he would be at that moment in time? Okay? Now, I do think that it's ridiculous. He just got shot. He just got shot in the chest and in the hand, and the first thing I saw, all the police were rifling through his car like mad people. Like, oh my God, there's got to be more stuff. Whoa, look at all this. Okay, the Second Amendment, you have a right to defend yourself. So the felony with the gun, I don't know what he got charged with, but a lot of times I think it's kind of ridiculous, if you're going to, it depends, if it's a nonviolent offense, I think that doesn't make any sense at all. You have a right to defend yourself, and what are you supposed to do, just be left at the mercy of your enemies? Anybody's just allowed to come and do anything? It reminds me of that one Kubrick movie, Clockwork Orange, where the guy did a horrible rape, and then they took his will. They shocked his will to fight back, so therefore, to stop him from being violent, they got rid of all his violent tendencies, but then he started getting beat up, and then there was nothing he could do because he was brainwashed, and so he would just have to get beat up, by a group of homeless people. And so, yeah, okay, so, let's see, trying to piece this together, what happened? So, okay, there's the initial scene. I'm not for sure what had actually happened. Because they're in the same parking lot, and he went to get out to throw something into the dumpster, so I don't think he knew that they were following him or that they had come back from where they were at. What was he throwing into the dumpster? Maybe that was the thing that they tried to get. It's a retaliation thing. Doesn't seem like it was a very good robbery. Maybe they just took something out of his hands, so perhaps, I would guess, maybe a drug deal gone bad. Or maybe they've been following him. Maybe they've been following him for a minute, and they followed him from the house or from, wherever he was going to wherever he was going. They followed him, and then they got him. And so, yeah. So, you know, if you're this guy, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, because usually if you're the one that calls the police, you're the one that calls it in, you're the one that's supposed to be listened to. So he's got the bullet hole in his chest, he's got a bullet hole in his hands, and if he dies, well, you know, I guess the police can't charge anybody with any crimes. They stole his guns, they stole his marijuana, #1 cash crop in Kentucky, legal in Colorado and Washington and Oregon and D.C. and Alaska, and it's stupid that there's even a war on marijuana anyway. So stupid. It's not a narcotic. The cops did nothing. They didn't help anybody by stealing this man's weed. They did nothing by stealing this man's gun. This man had a gun, Second Amendment. He's a good American. He had marijuana. I don't give a damn. So far, this Charles C. Davis is totally good. I mean, there's nothing that he has done wrong from what I could see. Nothing that he did wrong. So there was some kind of altercation. Well, not clearly, but, you know, unless he was just being robbed. And if he was just being robbed, then he's even a bigger victim in the entire matter. So he's a huge victim. He got victimized by being robbed. He got victimized by being shot. Got victimized by the police. So what are the lessons? The lessons of this incident is to never go to the police for anything. Don't even go to the hospital. Don't even go to an Office Depot. If you were, you know, if you have marijuana on you, and you're a felon and you have a gun on you, even if you didn't do anything wrong, even if you didn't hurt anybody, you cannot go to the police. You cannot go to the depot. If someone shoots you, you have to hurry up, get back in your car, and go home. Pat yourself up. Pat yourself up with however you can pat yourself up with. You got to be radically self-reliant. Go home, pat yourself up, and then, you know, then figure out where to go from there. Now he's sitting in a jail cell without a gun, without his marijuana, so he couldn't, you know, sell one or the other to get some money to do this, to do that. Now he has to worry about legal fees. Now he's got to worry about the charges. Now he's sitting in jail, and maybe there's going to be family and friends and people that are going to have to help him out, or he's just sitting there, and they're going to arraign him, and they're going to trash him. Charles C. Davis will get trashed. Why? Because the police got involved. Now, will they find the two black men who, you know, theoretically black men? You could usually tell people's, you know, skin color. So I would assume that they're dark-complected, right? So will they get the dark-complected men? Will they get these dark-complected men? No, they won't. These cops aren't going to catch them. They're not going to catch the guys that actually did the crime. They went after the guy that got victimized, and then they re-victimized him on top of him being victimized. They went ahead and made it worse. They made this situation a million times worse. And the way that they're rifling through that man's car, so let's assume that the darker-skinned men did rob him, okay? They robbed whatever was in his hands. They took whatever was in his hands. What they didn't do is capture him, put him in a pen, and then go through his car and take everything that he had. That was what the police did. So the police essentially finished the job that the first two thieves didn't complete. That's what happened here. And I think this situation is going to get worse. I'm just kind of glancing at this other case here. This happened yesterday, you know, in September 10th. Now, here's something that's July. So July, August, September, 2 months ago, right? 2 months ago, July 12th, 21st, Lexington 18, they said that there was a man who chopped up this woman and he's passing the body parts all over the place. So this man is, let's see, it's on Malibu Drive. Patrick Ryan Jones. So Patrick Ryan Jones, he put Malibu Manor, Brookhaven Apartments, chopped this lady's body all up to pieces, put one part in one dumpster, another part in another dumpster, and the media loves this stuff, right? This was their top story. Wow, this is, you know, in terms of policy and in terms of how we're going to do anything, like, they don't care about it. If it bleeds, it leads. If it's gory, it's a story. So this is front page news. So the media's not going to do anything about it. The police, they got the guy, right? So, but what were the underlying, you know, why did all this happen? I think that there's, like, you know, some mental issues. There's probably some poverty. And, you know, there's a lot of issues that's actually going on in America right now. And I'm going to get to them right now, okay? So just look at what we need. I think that there is things with poverty. There's a lack of solidarity. It's a capitalistic dog-eat-dog world. And so that means get as much as you can, right? Just like the two darker-skinned guys, they grabbed what was out of Charles C. Davis's hands. They took whatever was out of Charles C. Davis's hands, and they got what they could. The police come in, they took everything else, right? The police did to Charles C. Davis 100 times worse than what those two darker-skinned people did. Yeah, they shot him. I guess that's one thing the police didn't do. They didn't shoot him, right? They might have let him bleed out. I'm glad that he did get to the hospital. I'm glad that part actually happened, but I'm sure the officer, maybe they was there the whole time. Where am I going with this? I'm saying that there's poverty, there's police brutality issues, there's just a lack of empathy. There's a lack of caring about anybody else. So police want to be like, he's a man, so clearly he's a liar. Nothing he says is going to be told truth, or the cop comes up and says, what happened? What happened? Tell me, tell me. Now, if he was a woman, I would like to think that there are women that get brutalized, but a lot of times, especially white supremacists, it's all about, protecting the woman. So he was a man, so they come up real aggressive. He's like, man, you're not going to do anything for me. And they're like, well, no, we're not going to do anything for you. We're going to make your life worse now, okay? Now your life has just been made worse because you weren't just submissive to us as soon as we came up onto the scene. So there's police brutality, lack of empathy, and I think that this situation is going to get worse and worse and worse. Kentucky has #1 for mental health, #1 for toothlessness. There's no democracy here. The education system is hierarchy, so 100%. So shut up, sit down, do as the teacher tells you. We're not talking to each other. There's no democratic practices. There's no unions. There's no solidarity. So people are, you have to be in tribes. You have to find your tribes. You got your friends and your family, and that's the tribe, and then that's it. There's no Kentucky. There's no America. There's a whole bunch of tribes. It's just like the Shawnee, Cherokee, it's all that. Only it's use their last names. It's the Joneses, it's the Smiths, it's the, Lexington police. These are all gangs, and that's all we got is a bunch of tribalistic gangs. And who's good, who's bad, nobody knows. Nobody knows. If you know the person, that might give you some indication, but you never know, right? And okay, let's keep on going with this. So there's a war on drugs. Marijuana, they just made his world even worse because he had marijuana. Shut up. If he was selling or he was a buyer, who cares? Neither one of those bother me. But if he's selling, that means he's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's doing what CVS does. He's basically a mobile drugstore. And some of the stuff that they prescribe is Lexington and some of those, the pharmaceuticals. Those are some powerful stuff. That's hillbilly heroin. So hillbilly heroin will, knock your world, knock you on your butt, and you have marijuana, and you act like marijuana is the crime of the century. It's not a crime of the century. If he was selling, then actually he's, being a pharmaceutical distributor. So he's a small businessman. He's an entrepreneur. You would think that in America these are good qualities, right? And let's see. So small businessman, entrepreneur, and and then he's passing medicine around to people. So he's good all around. There's nothing so far, nothing that Charles C. Davis, to me, has indicated that he's a bad guy. The police are bad, and the two people that robbed him are bad. Now, I don't know what the altercation was, so I don't want to assume that because there's a victim that clearly he must have done something to somebody. That's what we said to the Jews. Well, why are the Jews going in the oven? Well, they must have done something. No, that's or maybe that the Nazis are just a bunch of sadists. They're just sadistic pigs who want to hurt other people. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's going on. Okay? So dog-eat-dog world, everybody taking from each other, no democracy, no unions. The infrastructure, there's crumbling roads, crumbling bridges, libraries are being closed. You have fire departments that are being closed. You have, libraries, fire departments, bridges, and roads. It's all crumbling. And, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about poverty? What are we going to do about the foreclosures? We should have a moratorium on foreclosures. 43% of Americans are still renting. They don't own their own home. They don't own any land. And then we have the militarization of the police. And then we're still at war for 15 years. So all the money's going for the military-industrial complex, going for the police, going for this stupid war on drugs, which has failed in every instance. War on drugs has failed everywhere it's been implemented, and the dozen or so countries or states that have implemented the alternative have succeeded. Colorado, massive success. Washington, Oregon, massive success. Alaska, D.C., that's here in America. What about Uruguay? Uruguay, Portugal, the Netherlands, So you have every place. North Korea has legalized marijuana. So you want to give me, get a perspective on who has, that's totalitarian. You can't get more totalitarian than North Korea, right? And you can smoke pot in North Korea. So at the very least, I'm not defending, I guess I'm blurring the line a little bit here. Who's got the bigger, worse police state? If this Charles C. Davis had got shot, and let's assume that North Korea has cops and they don't want their citizens shooting one another, You know, maybe the felon having a gun or something, that he might have got something for that, but marijuana, he wouldn't have got nothing for that. But here in this country, if you got marijuana, clearly you're a bad guy, you're a criminal, we need to go after you, and we need to do as much damage as possible. So, forgiving student debt, investing in infrastructure, my point with mentioning all these things is that none of it's going to get done. None of it's going to be done by Trump. None of it's going to be done by Hillary. We're not even discussing this stuff. We're not talking about prison reform, criminal justice reform, police reform, the war on drugs reform. We're not even talking about it. In terms of war, we're barely even scratching the surface with the major issues that Jill Stein and Gary Johnson are both 100% right on. The only difference is their economic policies. So now we go to Matt Bevin. Matt Bevin was just recently elected. They believe in shock therapy. That's who these neoliberal capitalists are. So they think that what we need is more free market, more of a shock to the system, so you're going to brutalize an already brutalized people, just like Charles C. Davis. He just got shot in the chest and shot in the hand, and now he's got to deal with all these charges. Felon with a gun. What is he going to get? Felony charges for how much weed was it? Was it a whole pound? Ooh, you all found a whole pound? Man, you guys are such good guys. Man, you all really got him. Good job, Lexington Police. Man, you guys are on this. Get out of here. You know, you guys are nothing. You guys are absolute crap. You will not catch the two guys who shot him. I guarantee. I'll put money on that. I'll put money that those Lexington cops have brutalized and already brutalized people, and so we have a shock doctrine, the shock therapy. Read Naomi Klein. This is what the Chicago boys did in Chile. This is what Matt Bevin is going to do. He said all this stuff, so it's obvious. It's not like he's a big secret. You know, none of this is a big secret. He's a hedge fund manager. He believes in capitalism. He believes in. He's a conservative, so he's just going to keep the fascist corporate government system intact. Only he's going to, put it on steroids. He's cutting austerity measures, cutting social programs, cutting education, cutting child, care, child education. So he's just cutting as much stuff as he can cut. College, and I said education. So, and then Connect. So he's trying to cut Connect. He's trying to cut the little bit of health care that, some Kentuckians actually just got. Kentuckians don't stand a chance. Kentuckians don't stand a chance with Matt Bevin as governor. Everything that I just talked about, these are just two incidents, and there's a whole bunch of them. There's been 80 murders that have happened in Louisville. There's murders that's been happening all throughout the state of Kentucky. So people are getting shot, literally. Now, murder is the worst thing you can do to one. And the stealing, raping, violence. Did they use violence against this guy? Did they already? I wonder if they twisted his arm. Did they, poke his hand, poke the bullet hole in his hand, right? Did they twist his insides, right? He's got a big hole in his chest. Let's just twist his insides until he talks. Torture him until he talks. I'm glad he's not cooperative. If anything, I think that makes him even cooler. I like this guy, Charles C. Davis. I'm rooting for you, man. I hope that this turns out well for you. But my overall analysis is that this is. I've seen too many of these stories, and I think that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. What Matt Bevin is doing is helping the corporations. This is an inverted totalitarian system, so he's going to help the corporations and the bankers, and he's a hedge fund manager. Those guys are going to do good. They're going to make a bank, okay? They're going to be able to buy a bunch of land. People are going to lose their houses. They're going to go in and swoop in and buy all that stuff. And you can't, how can you compete with the Walmart? How can you compete with the multinational corporation that has bottomless pockets? You can't, especially if you're a poor Kentuckian making, $8,000 on some crap little, minimum wage job. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to do well. This is a bad state. This is a bad economy, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse because when people are poor and people become more desperate, that's, I heard somebody said that. They tried to rob some old guy in Chicago, and the cop said he was a smart black cop. He was real smart. And he says, show me a person that has lost all hope, and I'll show you a person who is willing to do something like this. There's going to be more people who's going to lose hope. There's not much hope to begin with at all, right? Hope is just a dream, but hope is the last thing that you got, if you don't have anything else. So just say, hey, everybody have hope? No, you actually have to have a chance, a shot, a fighting chance at life. A shot at actually doing well. And, if you don't have good family, if you don't have good friends, you are stuck. You are absolutely stuck. And if your situation is bad, hope might actually be, the opiate of the masses. Maybe you don't need the hope. Maybe you do need to be, doing some, be Al Capone or something. Unfortunately, if you do that, you're going to take the risk. But the higher the risk, higher the reward. That's the reason why you got drug dealers. That's the reason why the war on drugs has failed, because you have made so many Al Capones It's unbelievable. Hell, heck, even Drew Thornton came out of Lexington. Drew Thornton was flying Cessna airplanes and dropping cocaine into the hills and then picking them up on the ground. Had buddies that picked him up, and then eventually some American plane or something shot him down, and he had all this cocaine strapped onto him, and he just splattered all over the concrete. But that's the elite. That would be the top echelons of Lexington society. Drew Thornton is one of the Lexington people. He was a police officer, just like the Lexington police that just stole this marijuana, just like Mitch McConnell had cocaine ships. His buddies, his boys, they caught cocaine ships, Taiwanese cocaine ships. So you guys are being a bunch of hypocrites. And where's that marijuana going to go? Is that marijuana going to be destroyed? Or did one of your buddies just get it and now you all just smoked it and then laughed at this poor Charles C. Davis Jr.? That's what I think that his biggest problem was, is that he got caught. He got caught, he got shot, and he had to go help. He had to go to hospital because he had a bullet wound, in him. But what does a bullet wound? Pull out the bullet, patch it up, stop the bleeding. What else do you need? I mean, I don't know if there's any more to it than just that. Maybe IV, maybe having 24 hours or something. But even hospitals are a bunch of psychos too. You don't have insurance, so you're not going to get any help. The ER, they'll reluctantly help you because I think legally they're supposed to, but they don't care either. They don't care. And that's the thing, is we live in a psychopathic culture of being run by a bunch of psychopaths, and with a governor that believes in shock therapy, this is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So I fear for my home state of Kentucky, and so yeah. So I fear for my home state of Kentucky. I think that we're going to start seeing more and more of this crap happening. More and more people becoming desperate. More and more people who have no hope. And that's unfortunate. I wish things were a little bit better.